way to freedom. Every ruler been a king, but we don't see the kingdom. The desire to rule is such a deadly sin from. If you open up for talk, they say that one go bygone. So they treat you like a lesser person, lesser human. Cause you stand to say the truth, you be a Boko Haram. We ain't got no freedom of speech, freedom to teach. Every day we be a living threat, not the thing they preach. When you speak against the nation, you a terrorist. When the nation goes against the people, it is politics. We see some brutal killings all over the world, so people don't get human rights again all over the world. We pray to all these people that is suffering and say we stand with people where we fight against this injustice. We stand against this evil living time, and here we ask all the leaders for the world for big democracy.
Police shoot our people, then die.
Shoot our people, then die.
Shut down the shoot our people, then die.
Shoot our people, then die.
Colonial master, they shoot them down.
Shoot our people, then die.
Politicians say make them shoot them down.
Shoot our people, then die.
Me one day,
Fire go burn them down.
me one day,
Table go turn around.
me one day,
Powers will knock them down.
me one
Now which kind of
day,
government be this?
me one day,
Fire go burn them down.
one day,
The table go turn around.
one day.
The powers go knock them down. Now which kind of government be this?
Na 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 na. Yeah. Oh na 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 na. Oh na na na. Oh na 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 na. Police they shoot our people down.
Shoot our people down.
Politicians say make them shoot them down.
Say make them shoot them down.
But one day fire go burn them down. One day table go turn around. One day powers go knock them down.
Now which kind of government be this?
One day fire go burn them down. One day table go turn around. One day the powers go knock them down.
Now which kind of government be this?
Take me down to Rome. I want to see them fall. Let me show him the bullets them used on my brothers. I know he's a father to every child, says my mama. I know that father won't let me down. We want to be free. We want to be free like Ghanaians, to be free like Kenyans, to be free like South Africans, to be free, but police they shoot our people them down.
Shoot our people down.
Politicians say make them shoot them down.
Say make them shoot them down.
But one day fire go burn them down. One day table go turn around. One day the powers go knock them down.
Now which kind of government be this?
Take me down to England. I want to see the Queen. I want to show her the bullets them used on my brothers. I know she's a mother to every child. That's my mama. I know that mother won't let me down. We want to be free. We want to be free like Ghanaians, to be free like Kenyans, to be free like South Africans, to be free, but
Listen, they compel us to stay back from the way to freedom. Every ruler been a king, but we don't see the kingdom. The desire to rule is such a deadly sin from. If you open up for talk, they say that one go bygone. So they treat you like a lesser person, lesser human. Cause you stand to say the truth, you be a Boko Haram. We ain't got no freedom of speech, freedom to teach. Every day we be a living threat, not the thing they preach. When you speak against the nation, you a terrorist. When the nation goes against the people, it is politics. We see some brutal killings all over the world, so people don't get human rights again all over the world. We pray to all these people that is suffering and say we stand with people where we fight against this injustice. We stand against this evil living time, and here we ask all the leaders for the world for big democracy.
police they shoot our people then die.
Shoot our people then die.
Shut down the shoot our people then die.
Shoot our people then die.
Colonial master they shoot them down.
Shoot our people then die.
Politicians say make them shoot them down.
Shoot our people then die.
Me one day
Fire go burn them down.
me one day
Table go turn around.
me one day
Powers will knock them down.
me one
Now which kind of
Revolutionary greetings to dear brothers, sisters, our fathers, mothers, grandfathers, grandmothers in the struggle. My name is Roland Chebefuh, and I'm country coordinator for South Africa and member of the Country Coordinators Forum, which is part of the interim government. Before I even begin to engage with you today, I want to salute every single member and Ambazonian in South Africa for the marvelous work that you have done throughout this struggle. My heart is so filled with joy and yet emotional because I understand your sacrifices. I also want to take off my cap right now for those in ground zero who live every day with bullets, who are being burnt alive, for our mothers who are giving birth in forest, for our younger kids and children who are running around as refugees in countries where they are hungry, yet their country is endowed. I also want to salute the spirit of all those who have been killed and to tell their families, please be comforted. I also want to extend my greetings to the diaspora and thank you all for coming together and understanding that what unites us is greater than what divides us. All those in China, in Nigeria, the whole of Europe, in the United States of America. We have come to a junction in our struggle where we as the people must continue to do what is necessary to ensure that I and you live in a free country and are respected. For that, I would want to begin by also saluting all those great leaders, right from our founding fathers, through the Pa Fonchas, from Galang Force, the Pa Abed Mukongs, through to the Pa Fongoji Dinkas, through to our own very president Ayuk Tabe, through to Professor Carson Anyangwe, Tasang Wilfred, Mr. The author of the Coffin Revolution, Mancho Bixi, and now President Sako, Dr. Sako, who is at the helm. But I would want to go further immediately to also say that as we have created great leaders, they have done their work. We as the people must also at this point ensure that we do ours. The foundation of any great revolution is its people. The events of January this year with the adoption of our leaders has taught us to be proactive. We are very aware of the fact that the Cameroon government has been making a lot of events using international cooperation agreements, direct threats, in order to ensure that they are able to deal with all leaders of the revolution, especially in South Africa. We have realized the involvement, the importance of involving every single Ambazonian, and that is why the Advisory Council commissioned us to be able to look at the way of closing this gap to ensure that there is sustainability in our relationship and the work that our interim government is doing is being complemented from a people's front in the right way. We are taking an initiative then because as a people we believe that we're fighting for a society where the right to think and act in the interest of our freedom is non-negotiable and cannot be taken away by anybody. To propose a grassroots movement that is supported and that ensures that it in turn supports the people and in that way carries its revolution and its leaders and all those who speak on its behalf in a way that our message, our fight, our struggle is reaching the right quarters and getting the right responses and results that we need. We want to call it SCCOP, the Southern Cameroon's Congress of the People. SCCOP for us would ensure that the shivering that our oppressors are feeling now is sustained and the thought process behind it is enshrined in the spirit of our people. As we bring them together, we educate them, we mobilize them, and when the oppressor begins and understands then that these people as Ambazonians have a plan and a resolution that spans 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then our destination is nearer than further. We believe that our struggle has created great men and women, and we are proud of all of them. But we also believe that at this very junction now, as with any other thing that must succeed, we cannot stop the growth of the revolution. And hence, we must then move to a place where these great men and women are being supported by a great foundation. I've had a friend from Ground Zero asking me the other day, what is this SCCOP and why is it important? And it was very simple for me to put it simple in this way. In order for you to build a proper house, you need a proper foundation. If you were to visit any place that you admire, be it a hotel on holiday, your church or place of worship, and somebody else was to ask you what is it that you admire about this particular place, you probably would tell them about your pastor, you would tell them about the unity in it, you would tell them about the atmosphere, you would tell them about so many beautiful things. But one thing that you would never tell them is the foundation on which that church or that hotel or that beautiful resort is standing on. That foundation is under the ground, but it is the reason why that whole structure is able to stand. And the grassroots movements in a revolution are the foundation, and grassroots movements are people, and grassroots movements are mobilized by people, manned by the people, in order to ensure that those who speak on their behalf, which is now the government and all the other leaders who are speaking and fighting and engaging on our behalf, are standing on this solid foundation. I have been blessed to have spent the last decade and more in the corridors of one of the greatest nations in the world that won freedom in our time, and has been able to show what can be done to achieve this, and is still a beacon of democracy today in Africa, the Republic of South Africa. I have learned in this time that one of their greatest sons and father of the nation was Nelson Mandela. But South Africa is free today not because of Nelson Mandela. South Africa is free today because they had powerful grassroots movements that ensured that regardless of whether leaders were locked up, abducted, as in our cases, targeted, killed, media campaigns manned on them, the revolution survived in the blood of the people, and people were able to carry it. It is evident in our case because over the past 50 years, without great movements like the SCNC, just to mention a few, we would not have been able to sustain and arrive where we are. I have learned that the ANC was that grassroots movement, and the ANC is the reason why South Africa is free today, and the ANC is the reason why South Africa continues to be a country that is an example of what democracy must be in Africa. As Ambazonians, our leaders have done their best to this point. It is time for us to consolidate the base. SCCOP for us is that solution. It is one that is critical. It is one that must be engaged. It is a special purpose vehicle for all Ambazonians, and it is self-regulating. It is not about people. It is not about popularity. It is all about ensuring that we as a people, we treasure our greatest asset, which is our unity. The day we lose our unity, that day our revolution will die. We are united in our diversity, make no mistake about that. South Africa is a beautiful example of that. As country coordinator in South Africa, we all know that for Cape Town, for example, the chairperson for Cape Town is from the AGC. We have this fight we have these discussions and we have them maturely, and we disagree and even disagree some more, but at the end of the day, we all know that what unites us is stronger than what divides us, and we eventually agree and move forward, and that is how we've been able to move forward. We cannot afford at this time to stop any initiatives that are aligned to ensure that we continue to mobilize, educate, and direct our people. A lot of people would also ask, why now? Let me give you a few reasons. With the formation of a grassroots movement as SCCOP, you would notice that the great work that has been done by President Sako and his cabinet, the marvelous job of leading us in the struggle, would be enhanced before they are able to go to any quarters to speak on our behalf, to engage diplomatically. They would be able to come forth and answer the question, or the question would have been answered if we consolidate ourselves at the base that these people represent a verifiable group of Ambazonians within grassroots movements that if asked today, they could be produced. You would notice that the enemy constantly is bringing forth the argument that we are a few disgruntled. They are banking and counting on the fact that we would not get to this point where we would be able to consolidate the base and allow this robust way of doing things to exist, so that we can show the world without saying anything in our actions that here we are, the people that have been forgotten, emancipated, being killed every single day, and we are in our numbers, and from that point onwards, doors will open even before leaders take forth. Within the proposed structures of SCCOP, we are looking at the issue of human rights. People are dying every day. We want to take the specific case of one of our comrades who was butchered in front of us, Sam Sawyer. And we are proposing the Sam Sawyer Center for Human Rights. And we know very well that in the past, engaging with players in this space, who by the way are very important in ensuring that we achieve our goal, has been difficult, because they want to engage with a government that has been recognized at least by one nation of the AU or the UN. As we continue to achieve that strive, we as the people must immediately ensure that as a grassroots movement, we are able to have a drive towards engaging players in the space to ensure that our people are getting the right support from all partners that we can be able to bring on board, to ensure also that we are able to raise funding to make sure that we are dealing with the critical situation that is arising. A thing that we must understand is that the mandate of our government is very clear and stretched, and government's business is not necessarily the mobilization of the grassroots. I have never seen any country where the business of government is mobilizing the grassroots. So if government is doing its part, the people must mobilize the grassroots. I would also want to go further to quote our President Ayuk Tabe Julius, who said that we are like streams flowing into a river. I'm sure most of you who've ever been where he makes his speeches would be very familiar with that saying. And what that simply means is that we will not agree with many things all the time. But that does not mean that we must limit ourselves from having forums within which people must continue to talk. A lot of our communication is amongst ourselves. Instead of talking to the world, we spend so much talking amongst each other. And we believe that the mobilization of the grassroots, creating of proper structures through a structure like SCCOP, would allow internal venting, allow different diverse views and different streams to flow within, vent in the background, but at the end of the day, when we go out, we as a people must sell our position. The talk say, even if you write now which kind of fine song, if you not sing your song in front of the people, then way they go hear that song, so they be able to make sure you benefit for that song be useless. For us to sing our own song in this space, we need a grassroots movement that is all-encompassing. I would also want to go further to also say that it is important that we ask ourselves the question, as Ambazonians up to this point, if we were to be asked today, sitting in front of all the stakeholders, because we must make no mistake, we must be very clear and tell our people the truth, that for us to arrive where we want to arrive in, there's so many other people that are not Ambazonians that we would have to sit with, engage with, have discussion with, have agreements with, because we are part of a continent which is part of a world that had dynamics, and we are unapologetic about our freedom. It is non-negotiable, but for that to happen, we must also put in context the environment within which we are fighting for this freedom for ourselves, for our children, and for the generations to come. Our actions today will be reverent 50 years from today, same as the actions of our forefathers John Gunfoja and Muna are today being revered amongst us. And hence, we must ask ourselves that question: how many Ambazonians, of the millions of Ambazonians, can we be able as a people to produce today if our freedom depended on it in front of stakeholders, and have that proof showed off? We must consolidate the base. I, as an Ambazonian, I know that as a servant of the revolution, my role is to be able to turn around and start right from the bottom up, which is what we're proposing, consolidating my own people in my own little area to ensure that as a collective, we all are able to make sure that our revolution is insulated at the bottom. I also know that there is a lot of quarters where people are feeling unhappy or agitated because they have a feeling that this is another movement, and that is absolutely not true. This is a progression in the struggle. The talk say if you want fry egg, you must crack them. If we do not crack our eggs, we would stay hungry for freedom, because we are afraid to crack eggs. We must crack these eggs, and that is why we started off by ensuring that there was a problem, a clear problem that needed to be addressed in so many fronts, and we went on to identify exactly what the best solution would be, and it was evident that there was a need to ensure that the grassroots is consolidated, and we went further to ensure that we engaged with every single person that we could engage in. A lot agreed with us, some did not, but at the end of the day, that is what makes our revolution. And I have no doubt in my mind that the moment we as Ambazonians are able to start getting together and making sure that the grassroots is consolidated, it has structures within, from that point onwards, we are winners. I can go further to tell you right now that since our president was adopted, he has a family. You can never measure what that family is going through. Mark Barra's mother was arrested for a while. You could send condolences on Facebook, but you could never go through his shoe. There are people that are being killed today in Bello, in Lebialem, all over in the southern Cameroons. This has impacts on families in a way that the interim government cannot take care of everybody. Our philosophy of an injury to one is an injury to all is not something new. We were brought up that way. We had that family quarterly love, and by consolidating the grassroots, we would simply be ensuring that we are able to take care of our own. Our women's league would be able to look at how our revolution is affecting our women, and how can they be able to help our women all across, emotional support and all kinds of support. Our youth league would be able to look at how our revolution is affecting our youth, and how can they be able to support our youth, because after we as a people succeed in this revolution, life continues, and whatever foundation we build now should be a foundation that would ensure that we come out of this as a nation that is ready to continue building. Comrades, the information is available on our Facebook page, and I would want to say here that I want to thank grassroots movements like the SCNC for the great work that has been done over the years, and to encourage them that We need to go out there and continue to do this work. Continue to hold those meetings to mobilize people as grassroots movements, because the more we as grassroots movements are able to mobilize our people, the stronger the people who speak on our behalf. I salute you all, and in the spirit of engagement, please send through all your questions, all your arguments, so that we can continue to engage as a people. We all can never get it right, but one thing I know for sure is it is better for you to try what it is that must work, because none of us was prepared for this revolution, as opposed to fear castigation and allow our revolution not to benefit from another step that must take it forward. In the words of my favorite author, George Bernard Shaw, the people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want. If they cannot find them, they make them. We need to make SCCOP a grassroots movement so that our revolution would enter into a phase of never dying. Thank you.
Na 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 na. Yeah. Oh na 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 na. Oh na na na. Oh na 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 na. Police they shoot our people down.
Shoot our people down.
Politicians say make them shoot them down.
Say make them shoot them down.
But one day fire go burn them down. One day table go turn around. One day powers go knock them down. Now which kind of government be this? One day fire go burn them down. One day table go turn around. One day the powers go knock them down. Now which kind of government be this? Take me down to Rome. I want to see them fall. Let me show him the bullets them used on my brothers. I know he's a father to every child, says my mama. I know that father won't let me down. We want to be free. We want to be free like Ghanaians, to be free like Kenyans, to be free like South Africans, to be free, but police they shoot our people them down.
Shoot our people down.
Politicians say make them shoot them down.
Say make them shoot them down.
But one day fire go burn them down. One day the table go turn around. One day the powers go knock them down. Now which kind of government be this? Take me down to England. I want to see the Queen. I want to show her the bullets them used on my brothers. I know she's a mother to every child. There's my mama. I know that mother won't let me down. We want to be free. We want to be free like Ghanaians, to be free like Kenyans, to be free like South Africans, to be free, but
Listen, they compel us to stay back from the way to freedom. Every ruler been a king, but we don't see the kingdom. The desire to rule is such a deadly sin. If you open up for talk, they say that one go bygone. So they treat you like a lesser person, lesser human. Cause you stand to say the truth, you be a Boko Haram. We ain't got no freedom of speech, freedom to teach. Every day we be a living threat, not the thing to preach. When you speak against the nation, you a terrorist. When the nation goes against the people, it is politics.